Good morning and welcome to LLT 121, Classical Mythology. When last we left off, we were considering the Eleusinian mystery religion, the mysteries of Demeter and her search for her lost daughter Persephone. In its original form, the story of Demeter and Persephone is nothing more than an etiology, explaining the seasons. When Persephone has been stolen by Hades and is down in the underworld, Demeter mourns, and crops do not grow. When Persephone is back with her beloved mother on Mount Olympus, Demeter is happy, the crops grow, and so forth. This story, however, becomes a vehicle, if you will, for a reasonably profound exploration of ancient people's hopes of the afterlife. Because as I have told you 57,000 times, and you should be able to barf this back on your next quiz, the Olympian view of the afterlife, the viewpoint which was current more or less around 750 BC, which finds itself written down in the Odyssey of Homer and in other places, is unbelievably depressing. It offers no hopes for a satisfying sort of immortality. It offers you no hint that the deities care about you. It insinuates very strongly that there is no point for your existence. You are a fluke of the universe. You have no right to be here. And if you believe it or not, the rest of the world is laughing behind your back. That is no kind of Weltanschauung to have, folks. No kind of worldview. Where did the ancient Greeks turn? Well, we've discussed already the philosophical viewpoint, but in the Eleusinian mystery religions, the ancient Greeks came home to Mama, the earth goddess, Demeter. The name Demeter can be explained as a dialectal form of Mother Earth. The giving, nurturing goddess, the bringer of good things, the goddess who creates things like grain and fruit and humans for a purpose. Casting aside all of the weird details of the mystery religion as preserved for us in the Homeric hymn to Demeter, what is this Eleusinian mystery religion basically about? It is basically, and this is a sort of thing you can see over and over again in my award-winning class, LLT 321, Comparative Mythology, a comparatively primitive human society grafting its hopes for an afterlife onto the constant cycle of growth, flowering, death, growth, flowering, death, that goes on in the world of vegetation. The ancient Greeks, the more primitive ancient Greeks, used this cycle of growth and death and decay to explain the creation of the universe, to explain the creation of vegetation, the old hieros gamos theory. A more advanced and a more sensitive variant of that civilization uses the myth to explain how, like the grain, we grow. Like the grain, we have joy, we have fun, we have our season in the sun, and then we die and rot. That's depressing. Fortunately, the grain comes back. And that's the thing that I'd like to focus on right this second, the fact that the grain comes back. We've encountered this in any number of versions. It's very well attested, I believe, in the New Testament and no doubt in the Old Testament as well. This motif that just as the grain grows and flourishes and dies and returns to the earth and more grain is born again, the same thing works for us. I have no idea, nor does anybody else who is honest, how precisely this ties in the growth of grain, the death of grain, the decay of grain, ties into this specific Eleusinian mystery religion, because it is, after all, a mystery religion. The most comfortable theory about the quote-unquote holy things, the things which must be shown, is that it is an ear of grain. And that the Eleusinian mysteries, the greater mysteries, which are held in the fall, culminate, all the pageantry, all the dirty jokes, all the Kykeon drinking, culminate in the revelation, revealing of an ear of grain. A symbol of constant birth, growth, death, rebirth, growth, death, so on. Pause for a question, Jeremy. Okay. Any questions on that? That's kind of depressing sounding, I know. As for the details of the precise sort of afterlife, I can't be even clear about that. There's a quote in your book, I believe, that says, it's a quote from Sophocles, I believe, that says, the one who has been initiated into the Eleusinian mysteries knows a happy afterlife, and all others are doomed to suffer, etc., etc. That is not, I suggest, tremendously helpful. A useful thing I'd like to do is to compare the Eleusinian mystery religion not only with the Olympian religion, not only with the philosophical sects, but to compare it with other mystery religions, so you can write all this stuff down on an essay question. Ritual, yes. A deep, involved, elaborate ritual. It satisfied human needs for ritual on a major basis. Was there emotional content? Yes. Very strong emotional content. If any of you have ever been involved in an initiation or something like that, or God help you, a wedding, by the time the wedding actually takes place, by the time the initiation takes place, by the time the first communion or the baptism or the whatever takes place, one of the reasons for the ritual is to build it up and to increase the emotion of the moment. So you're not sitting there, Yahoo, I'm married, woohoo, and walk out. And there is tremendous emotional content. I mean, it's a story about a mother who loses her daughter and then gets her back but doesn't get to keep her. Has the USA Network gotten a hold of this story yet? Morality. I hope somebody would catch that. Morality, oddly enough, is optional. That is to say that the Eleusinian mystery religion makes no real demands on you to lead either an immoral or a moral life. If, for example, you are a hideous criminal, like an auto thief, and you are initiated into the Eleusinian mysteries, you're cool. You get to enjoy the benefits of being initiated into the Eleusinian mystery religion. If you are a benefactor of humankind, like Mother Teresa, and you are initiated into the Eleusinian mystery religion, you get the same happy afterlife as Jarrett the car thief, if you see what I'm getting at. Morality optional. It's a matter of performing the proper ritual, being initiated into the cult worship, and that's it. You don't have to believe anything in particular. Perform the sacrifices, undergo the ritual, and you are there, dude. I pause for a question. Crystal? No, as a general rule, they did not. I don't recall if I stressed this much, but it's very rare for an ancient religion to do this, but it was tremendously inclusive. Men, women, slaves, free, Greeks, barbarians, all could belong. Which was also one of the interesting things for the rise of Christianity. Christianity was wonderfully inclusive and still is wonderfully inclusive. You see what I'm getting at? And keep in mind that if you are initiated into the Eleusinian Mystery religion, you can still worship Zeus and any other gods or goddesses you see fit. Or you can even be an atheist. It doesn't matter. They'll take literally anybody.
So you don't have to believe in the actuality of the story?
That's correct.
That seems odd.
It seems odd to us today, I would suggest, Mark. It seems odd, you know, to someone raised in the Judeo-Christian tradition, but not so much to these people. Because, you know, like Marcus Tullius Cicero, God knows I've lived with that guy long enough. I wrote a dissertation on him. Here was a fellow who undoubtedly did not believe that the rain was the sky god doing it with the earth mother. All right? Here was a fellow who was conversant with all of the scientific theories about the content of the universe, including, by the way, the atomic theory, which was about 4 centuries old by the time of Christ. But he was initiated, and he had a tremendously emotional experience there. He didn't talk too much about the details, but Cicero's somebody from antiquity I happen to know fairly well. I am positive he did not believe that one day the earth opened up and Hades came roaring out of the underworld and dragged off Persephone, but he was initiated anyway, and it was a powerful experience for him. I know. Other questions? Yes?
You said that you wanted me to bring up the question of if there were any details on the stuff they did in the Eleusinian Mysteries, like initiation stuff or something like that.
Yeah, I think we covered that. Basically, the weird stuff in the Homeric hymn to Demeter is ideological in that it explains more or less certain facets of the Eleusinian mystery religion. Okay, let's cover this. Rebirth, yes, we don't know how. It's never spelled out. But supposedly, just like the grain, just like the wheat, just like the corn, just like the weeds in my backyard, we too will pass into the earth, and we too will be reborn. It's never spelled out. It's one of these leap of faith thingies. Is there a resurrection story? Yes, absolutely. The story of Persephone, who symbolically dies when she is taken down to the underworld by Hades, and is symbolically reborn when she gets to join her mother. Repeat ad nauseum. Finally, was it acceptable? Was this religion acceptable to states and governments? Again, the correct answer is yes, with 3 exclamation points. The city of Athens in beautiful ancient Greece was probably, for better or worse, the focal point of Greek culture. That is not to say that their dialect was the only dialect. It wasn't. Or that their wars were the best wars, and they were the most powerful, and they kicked butt the most. That's not necessarily true either. But Athens did have well more than its share of people who wrote things. Athens did have more, way more than its share of people who painted things and built pretty monuments and stuff. With the result that Athens is the best known of all ancient Greek cities because of the great cultural achievements of the people who lived there. Conservatively, estimating 80 to 85% of what survives of ancient Greek literature was produced either in Athens or by people who were from Athens or by people who moved to Athens. It was that prevalent. And Athens did have its day in the sun. Athens did have, in the second half of the 5th century BC, a tremendous empire. And one of the salient features of the Athenian government, one of the things that the Athenian government liked to encourage, was participation in the Eleusinian Mysteries. It's believed that the Athenian government, no matter who was in power, the conservatives, the radicals, the kings, the tyrants, they saw the value of having everybody possible in Athens, the slaves, the freed people, the women, the men, on the same page religion-wise. Ugh, what a horrible adverb. The thought being that if we, for example, as natives of the city of Athens, have been initiated into the Eleusinian mystery religion, then we, as citizens of the city of Athens, have something binding us together, making us into brothers and sisters that your average schmucks don't have. And this is, I suspect, much of the thinking behind belonging to a sorority or a fraternity. It's a bonding experience. Exactly so with the Eleusinian mystery religions. It was a bonding experience. Moreover, it's also kind of a cash crop for Athens. Remember that Eleusis is a suburb of Athens. Keep in mind that people traveling from the four corners of the Mediterranean world to come and be initiated at the Eleusinian Mysteries generally had to go through Athens. I say this in the beautiful town of Springfield, Missouri, which gets a great big huge economic boost from dragging people off of US 65 and, rifling their purses and wallets before they get back on the road to Branson. It's good business practice. It does wonders for the tax base of our fair city. And for that reason, the Eleusinian Mysteries were dear to the people of Athens, the Athenian Empire, the Athenian Greek civilization. It was good public relations, and it brought in money. And morality was optional. Sure, it didn't say you must lead a good life, but it didn't tell you to go out there and party like it was 1999 either. And that's why the Eleusinian mystery is manifestly acceptable to the Athenian state and to just about any other state. The Eleusinian mystery religion, oddly enough, continued well into the Christian era. I believe it was shut down only in the 4th century AD by the Christian emperor Theodosius, who was tired of the competition. And Mark, you brought up a very good question earlier. Did people really believe this hooey? Did people really buy into this, even if they knew that it never really happened? Again, the answer is yes. If you think about the fact that this religion, this mystery cult, continued for 4 centuries into the Christian era, try to imagine if you are one of the church fathers, one of the people who is a member of the early Christian church and writes pamphlets and sermons about why Christianity is right and everything else is wrong. Wouldn't you kill for somebody who had been an Eleusinian worshiper but converted to Christianity? Somebody who would come in and say, I once was an Eleusinian, now I have seen the light, and they do X, Y, and Z. You don't think that if one of the church fathers had gotten their hands on that they wouldn't have splattered it all over the Christian world? the Christian fathers, the church fathers, never found anybody like that. Never found anybody who would do a kiss and tell drive-by account of the Eleusinian mystery religion. I rest my case and pause for questions here, because it's almost time to get down and get funky. Ray?
Just a simple statement that doesn't require any comment. I mean, that's very powerful to say that they never found anybody who could do that.
I think so too. I think it was a good point, and I think I stated it very well. Thank you. Mark?
Is it more that no one ever, quote-unquote, converted, or just that those who may have also embraced Christianity as well as the mysteries just didn't disclose any information about it?
There is a good possibility of that. I mean, this is so lost so far, obviously, in the deeps of time, Mark, that we can't know. Did person X convert to Christianity and still hold in his or her heart the mystery religions and Christ at the same time? I wouldn't rule it out. Okay, now I really do need to say, dig, if you will, the picture of you and Prince engaged in a kiss and stuff like that, because every time I think about the ancient Greek god Dionysus, I think about this little purple guy dressed up in weird clothes, running around with, saying, let's go crazy, let's get nuts. Or 2000 party over, oops, out of time. Tonight I'm going to party like it's 1999. This guy, let's put it this way, by the time we work our way down to category number 6 in studying the Bacchic religion, you'll be able to belt out, "No way, Jose." Dionysus is the son of Zeus, well, who isn't, and a Theban princess by the name of Semele. Semele is this lovely young mortal woman whom Zeus takes a liking to. They perform the love deed, and Zeus goes on his merry way.
Question.
Yes.
So, Bacchus is a full-fledged god, even though his mother was mortal?
Yes, it is mighty confusing, isn't it? Whereas Poseidon and Demeter mingled in love and their kid was a horse. You know I can't answer that, Fairlyn.
I just wanted to make sure, because usually they have to have like two gods to make a god, right? Usually it's just a half god if they have an immortal.
You're being a skeptical daughter of the 20th century, and you're threatening me. Zeus mingles in love with Semele. Hera gets mad, as she always does, but can she get back at Zeus? Why not, Moosehead? Because he's her husband, lord, and master, he said, backing slowly towards the door. So she decides to get even with Semele. She disguises herself as an old bag lady. Nice baby you got there. Who's the daddy? Zeus. Yeah. Sure, honey. No, really is Zeus. This girl is kind of an airhead. Prove it. And here's what happens. Semele, this bag lady, who is really Hera, tricks Semele into asking Zeus for a favor next time he comes by. Now I know what either you or you are going to say. Zeus never comes around a second time. In this story, he does. And Zeus, Semele says, would you make me a promise, Zeus? Sure, honey. I swear by the river Styx. Scott, what expectation does that raise?
That he's going to have to fulfill that promise.
And also, Regina, a major bad career move coming up. Zeus says, I swear by the river Styx, and Semele says, okay, I would like you to reveal yourself to me in your full Zeusliness, the way that you do when you reveal yourself to your wife Hera. You can see where this is going, right, JR? You are JR.
Josh.
You're Josh? You're sitting in JR's chair. I'm sorry. I feel so embarrassed. You can see where this is going, can't you, Josh? what's going to happen? Just guess. He reveals himself to Semele in his full Zeusliness because he can't talk her out of it. And what happens? Erica. Guess. No, not quite. Not bad. Jeremy? Did you read this or did you make this up? She bursts into flame, and pretty soon she is a smoldering pile of ashes. Fire.
Fire.
She is, moreover, a pregnant pile of ashes. The baby's still alive. And Zeus reaches into the smoldering heap of ashes, sticks Dionysus in his thigh, and sews him up, and carries him to term. You don't believe that, do you? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. That's good. Say amen. Pardon? Oh, Lord, what do you want? You and me both, Ace. It rather does defy description, but there is a point here. Keep in mind that Athena, goddess of war, wisdom, and women's work, was born out of Zeus's head. He devoured his wife Metis, and pretty soon he carries the baby to term, and he's got a little baby popping up through his head. Hephaestus has to take the axe and split his head so Athena can pop out dressed in armor. The goddess of wisdom popped up out of Zeus's head. Just what sort of god do you think Zeus is going to squirt out of his thigh? Dionysus grows up in a zero-parent home. His dad is Zeus and his mom is a pile of ashes. He is raised by nymphs. Nymphs are semi-divine, totally gorgeous babes in Greek mythology who do it all the time. They're just lusty and zesty. Satyrs are studly-looking, semi-divine guys who are also very sexually promiscuous. Satyrs and nymphs are always having sex and getting drunk and having sex and stuff like that. Dionysus is raised by nymphs and satyrs and grows up to be the god of wine, partying, in ecstatic possession. Ecstatic possession. It sounds horrible, doesn't it? Does it sound like the thing that, you know, you want your little kid to encounter? And to make matters worse, Dionysus is always this red-faced guy who looks like he's completely schnockered. And, you know, he's got pancake makeup on and a Carmen Miranda hat on and little hair, and he's wearing his little leopard skin, and he's holding his little jug of Mad Dog or something like that. Always plastered out of his gourd, hanging around with nymphs and satyrs and stuff. He's got a really ugly buddy named Silenus, the ugliest human being in the whole history of Greek mythology. Okay, and he's always followed around by Maenads. I'm going to put that on the board, Maenads, who are women dressed in leopard skin outfits, carrying sticks, and running around dead drunk through the fields going, woo-hoo, woo-hoo, woo-hoo. I kind of like the idea of women dressed in leather skin things, getting dead drunk and running around going woo-hoo, woo-hoo, woo-hoo. Unless it's my wife, or my mom, or my daughter. I don't like that idea at all. You can see where this one's going. Dionysus is also, how to put this, the externalization the externalization, externalization, of the feeling of drunkenness. Now, I'm not going to ask for a show of hands. I'll put mine up anyway. There are probably people in this room who have been intoxicated, who have been drunk, who have been schnockered, ballistic, or what have you, and then try to explain what the feeling is like. What's it like to be drunk? You know, the ancient Greeks couldn't explain it either. Today we can say, what is it? That drunkenness is the effect of methanol, is that right? On your brain? They didn't know about that junk back then. So they'd say, it's Dionysus. Dionysus is the power in the wine that gets you drunk. When you are drunk, it's not alcohol poisoning, it's Dionysus running around in your veins. You know, that feeling you get after maybe you've had your 14th beer of the evening, and you've already become immensely more charming and better looking. You're going to live forever. Nobody can resist you, and everything in the world is so wonderful that you think you're going to take your TV and throw it out of the 5th floor window in commemoration of this fact. Have you ever had that feeling? That, folks, is the god Dionysus. That is the ecstatic possession of the god Dionysus. The power in you that makes you do the weird things you do when you're drunk, you know, a normally straight-laced, you know, studious person, you know, flips off his tie and starts running around dancing on tables going woo-hoo, woo-hoo, or, you know, Barbara Walters breakdancing or something like that. That must be a god making the person do that. Because anything, remember, I mean, way back to animistic belief, the time when animistic beliefs prevailed, anything you can't explain. One of the definitions of a god is anything you can't explain is a god. Wait till we talk about love. Aphrodite is the externalization of love. Because if you think being drunk makes you stupid, try falling in love. That makes you an idiot. Dionysus is the externalization of the power of the roaring god Dionysus. Question?
You just stated the same thing. You said Dionysus is the
As he is. Okay, we don't have time to do the full number on him, so what we'll do is we'll meet some of his buddies. A couple of his buddies are the god Pan. Pan is this studly-looking god who usually has cloven feet and goat legs, because goats are notoriously randy, promiscuous animals. So Pan is just like a walking orgy all unto himself. And one day, he falls in love with a promising young nymph by the name of Syrinx. Pardon?
Just trying to compare the goats in my grandfather's farm with Mustang's. I don't think they're quite the same.
But because they're on your grandfather's farm.
Oh, yeah.
They're all old too. This promising young sea nymph wanted nothing to do with the great god Pan. So, of course, he chases her. She runs away from him. And just as she reaches the banks of her father's river, yes, her father was another one of them river gods, just like Io's dad, she prays, I would like to be turned into a bunch of reeds. I know. Why a bunch of reeds? You could pray to be turned into a Sherman tank, and then you could turn around and blow his you-know-what away. So she gets her wish, and she turns into a patch of reeds. Pan arrives on the scene. Darn. And he says, well, all right, since I can't have you as a lovely young maiden, he cuts off the reeds and sticks them together with wax binds them together with a string and creates an instrument known as the pan flute. And who is the master of the pan flute? Zamfir. And when Zamfir gets a theater in Branson, I'm bailing out. Okay. Another promising young river nymph is named Echo. Echo, E-C-H-O, is another promising young sea nymph, river nymph or something, who spurns Pan's advances. She runs away from him. He runs after her. She's gaining on him, so he gets mad. He spreads something known as panic. He plays his pan flute and does wild dances until all the local shepherds go nuts. This is the official definition of panic, the etiology of panic in ancient Greek mythology. Pan gets the shepherds so riled up that they tear poor Echo to bits. And all that remains is her voice. How do you like that one? How many of you liked that one? How many of you didn't like it, really? Elizabeth, why didn't you like it?
She just wanted to get away from her, and then he just goes off and
Yeah, well, it's a good point you bring up, Elizabeth, that classical mythology is just filled with stories of attractive women who, through no fault of their own, are pursued by gods and wind up turned into something horrible. And I mean, you can tell it in a way that it's really hilarious. Ha ha, Io turned into a cow. Moo, moo, cow, get it? But it's really it's really a terrible story, because here we got the supreme ruler of the universe, Zeus, guardian of all that is wise and right, Zeus, changing this poor woman into a cow because it'll help him tell a lie to his wife. I feel your pain, Elizabeth. I feel your pain. Then I'll make up a different version of the story in which she has it coming. In version number 2 of the story of Echo, one day Zeus is off on one of his little love affairs and stuff like that, and he leaves Echo behind to kind of cover for him. And Hera comes up and says, "Where's Zeus?" And Echo starts saying, "Oh," she just starts babbling mindlessly to divert Hera's attention from the fact that Zeus is out putting horns on her. Okay? When Zeus finds out, as he always does, he is, after all, Zeus, he fixes Echo. He takes... Hera's the one who gets mad. Whoa, Hera gets mad. And takes Echo's voice away so that she can only repeat what people say to her. Ever want to drive somebody nuts? Just repeat the last few. You ever do that to somebody? You repeat the last, and they tell you, "Stop it," and you go, "Stop it." It's really cute. You see this dent on this side of my head? My wife put it there one time when I did that to her. Just kidding. Of course, what happens to Echo next is she falls in love. She hunts, she lives out in the woods, she's kind of embarrassed. She can't really say much. She hides out in the woods until one day she sees this guy named Narcissus. You can see where this one's going, can't you? Narcissus is this beautiful, handsome young lad. And all of the local river nymphs and sea nymphs are in love with him. They just want his bod. He is so gorgeous. The problem is, he doesn't want any of them, because he himself is so beautiful. We get our term narcissism, narcissistic, from this fellow's sad story. All the nymphs pray that, okay, if he's not going to fall in love with any of us, let us pray that he falls in love with somebody he can't have, which he does. We'll let the Roman poet Ovid pick up the call, because Ovid rules. Ovid says that Echo falls in love with Narcissus too. And she's rustling about in the bushes. He says, "Stop, who goes there?" To which Echo replies, "Who goes there? Who goes there? Who are you? Please identify yourself. Please identify yourself." And so on. It goes on for about 25 lines like that, right? And finally he finds out that it's this woman out there and he's not interested. And he goes, "Go away, I would rather die before I let you possess me." To which she responds, "No, possess me." You know, and of course he's not interested at all, so she wastes away. How sad. And Narcissus gets his too. One day, he happens to look down into a creek. And what does he see? His own bad self. And guess what? He falls in love with it. Who is that beautiful boy living at the bottom of the creek? Who never says anything but looks at me? I mean, you'd have to read Ovid's Metamorphoses to believe this. Ovid tap dances on it.
Did he jump in the creek?
Oh, wait. Don't spoil it. No, he doesn't jump into it. But here's what he does. His tears start falling into the river and into the creek and disturbing his picture. Oh, no, I can't see you anymore. So he wastes away and dies. The end. You've been a very good class.